Hey guys, I'm Norm from Tested. We're here with Phil Tippett at Tippett Studio. Phil is a veteran and pioneer of special effects animation, and you're so gracious enough to show us around some of the props and artifacts from your career. I think we're standing in front of some awards you've won. Pretty impressive.
My kids call them the trophies.
They are indeed trophies. These are 2 Oscars you've won. Can I pick one up?
For $1.
Deal. Here's 5.
Oh, thanks.
It really is heavier than it looks in person. Awesome. Let's go take a look around.
Okay, let's go.
All right, Phil, let's talk about the warrior bug from Starship Troopers.
Well, this model, in fact, all of the bugs for Starship Troopers were designed by Craig Hayes, who designed the 209 character. Craig was really pivotal in the transition at Tippett Studio from doing stop motion to digital, because he's got a brilliant engineering mind and a great design brain as well. So the design process took place in actually a very brief period of time for Troopers. It was very clear from the beginning we needed a way to get around what these things were and how they function in the story. And since we were doing a war movie, we decided to make each of the characters like a generic war article. So the warriors were the ground troops.
Stormtroopers, yeah.
And then the tanker bug was a flamethrowing tank, and then the hoppers were the Air Force. And if you look carefully at these designs, what Craig did across all of them was he introduced similar design elements that were genetically engineered differently. So like in the bug hive, everybody starts out like this, but then these guys go over there and they're grown into tanker bugs, and these guys are over here and they're turned into warrior bugs, and it just kind of worked like that.
Logic in the biology. And then so this model, this is the largest that you ever built, this model.
Yeah, this was the design maquette that was used for 2 purposes. One, as a guide for the computer graphic modelers, these parts would be scanned, and then rough paint maps would be taken off of these, because Craig got all the surfaces the way that he wanted them. And then when we were on location, we would take these out and use them as a lighting reference. So every time that we shot any scene that had a warrior bug in it, we would take this and put it out in the in the light in the middle of godforsaken Hell's Half Acre, and just shoot a really quick burst, rotating this thing, and that would give us like a very concrete lighting reference for how the thing was supposed to fit into the scene.
And that's why this has joints. That's why it's very posable. And then of course you built out the big claws, life-size claws as well.
Yeah. Tom and Alec at ADI built all the full-scale props and built a whole mechanical warrior bug for a number of shots where a guy is picked up and thrashed.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil.
So Phil, we are standing in front of what looks like a robot dinosaur. What exactly is this guy for? How does he work?
Well, this was a transitionary device that was used in Jurassic Park because that was the first big creature digital movie. ILM and Dennis Muren, who was supervising, made some significant breakthroughs. And initially, we were going to do all of the dinosaurs more conventionally, with stop motion and high-speed photography and
big puppets,
things like that. But Dennis and his team proved that the computer graphics would hold up, and so Stephen elected to go in that direction. The problem was at the time that there weren't that many skilled computer graphic animators.
Okay.
So this was developed so that stop motion animators at my studio could come in and physically manipulate these things, one frame at a time, the way it's laid out. It's pretty much a conventional stop motion armature, but they have these little encoders on the side that will register like every movement, and then that goes through this matrix of cords through this box and into the computer, and then there's the wireframe dinosaur. So if you move the head here, inside on on the monitor, the head would move.
So it's like motion capture.
It
is.
It is a motion capture device, but done in a stop motion keyframe, kind of modality. And the interesting thing about it, when we were getting into this, was there was a tendency for the trained computer animators. They work with this tool called a function curve inside of the computer, and what that basically shows is all the rotations of all of the joints, and it looks like a London subway map, only worse. There's like all these lines that show what all the movements are.
So that your shoulder joint doesn't do a ball joint movement or something like that? Or is that kind of thing?
It's a diagnostic tool where they could go in and they could pick a point on the curve and they could move the curve, and that would change one of the nodes to make the thing move properly. But most of the people at that time were schooled more in the traditional so-called Disney school of animation, which is more kind of a cartoon mindset. But when you are doing these kinds of things, you're integrating your characters into a photographic background plate that's shot on location with Earth-specific gravity. So the animators need to really have a sense of, weight and mass and, intention. The thing needs to play as though it's got a brain that's motivating all of its parts.
It needs to feel real.
It needs to feel real. And the stop motion animators, when Tom Santamon and Randy Dutra did most of the animation for the main road scene with the T-Rex and the Raptor kitchen using these input devices. And when we kicked our function curves over to the engineers, they said, this isn't working. Because look at all these beautiful lines that the way it's supposed to be, they're broken. They have like these really hard, jaggedy, moves in them. And it was like, yeah, but did you look at the shot? It was like, well, yeah. He said, well, the shot looks good, But what happens when you're actually physically manipulating things is that, say you're going to throw something, a lot of unexpected things happen that and it's different now. There's a lot of skilled animators that are totally up to speed. But back then, because you're working more in a cartoon world, you're not thinking about how things actually physically work. And when you go to throw something, your shoulder does this very funny, quick little move that as you're kind of sculpting these things in time, that's what it needs. So you're kind of empirically figuring out what looks right rather than what's theoretically, looks right in terms of a technical mindset. If you look at the actual digital dinosaur shots in Jurassic Park, there was only like 55 of them that were interspersed with the full-size, mechanical things on the set, but there just weren't that many shots. So there was, more time to focus on the things that you needed to. And back then, production schedules were different. You had more time to plan, and when you're working with a director like Spielberg or Verhoeven, a lot of their filmmaking prowess really comes from that Alfred Hitchcock kind of a way of you make the movie in the planning, and then you go out and you shoot it, and then you come back in, and the plan should fit together. Because on Troopers, we have these big battle scenes that went on and on and on, but they were meticulously planned. And I'd go in on the weekends and work with Mark Goldblatt, the editor, and we would just assemble them according to the plan. And Paul would come in and go okay, great. And he might take out some trims, but it just the stuff glues together, and you're not looking for your movie in the cut.
Thank you so much, Phil. That was fantastic. It's very neat.
My pleasure.
So Phil, we're standing in front of what looks like just a bunch of equipment just behind us, but above us is ED-209 from Robocop. And how did you make this? Did you make this? How was this used in the film?
Well, my buddy John Davison and I met on Joe Dante's Piranha. And, and John was a big stop motion fan, and then we went on to do Starship Troopers together and try to develop a number of things. So when John got a hold of the property Robocop, and they'd hired Verhoeven, they needed a robot. And Ed Neumeier and Michael Miner, who had written the script, imagined this thing as a big robot whose arms terminated in guns, and that was it. And so, I was looking for some designs for this character, and ran across this kid in San Rafael, who was just an amazing model maker and like this kind of Mozart of materials, and a very good designer. And his name is Craig Hayes, and he's gone on to become a very well-established visual effects supervisor. But he was just a kid and designed this thing. So we would go down for design meetings with Paul. And it only took a couple of revisions to land this thing.
And did you guys build the life-size hero model first, or did you guys build, I mean, you had multiple miniatures also for stop motion?
Yeah, because of the production schedule, all the live action had to be shot first. So the big thing, I mean, Craig went literally from a couple of drawings to this thing. And just did it in a little tiny garage, 120-degree heat over in Marin. Wow. In these hazmat suits, because it's all, the stuff is toxic.
Are there actually motors in that? Does that actually move?
No, it was all imagined as a static prop. I mean, the way it kind of worked out was they didn't have the money to do everything that they wanted to, and Paul Verhoeven was not, too, educated in visual effects stuff. Mm-hmm. And so there was this conundrum, this problem: how do we get all of these shots, in this movie? And I proposed to them that they do the conventional kind of a thing that has been used in movies, forever. Is you build and the character of Ed lends itself to that, because he's basically a sculpture that moves, and he can come on and off whenever he wants to. So we just construct the scenes in such a way where for the ambulatory stuff, that's a stop motion puppet, and you just build the scene around. Our problem was there was a huge dialogue scene. When Ed 209 comes into the boardroom and he's presented, there's a lot of blah, 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 blah. But all we had to do was introduce him, walking in, he comes in, he shuts down, and then you keep his character alive by a sound effect, just a bass, kind of a pedal chord that keeps his presence there. You have the actors walking in front of the thing doing whatever it is they want to do. And
then later in the film of E209, not being able to walk down the stairs, did you animate that also?
I did some of it. I broke the shots up. I think there was, I did most of the animation. Randy Dutra did some animation. Harry Walton did some of the animation.
And that was also a mix of the live action and the stop motion.
I think by that time, anytime you saw Ed moving, it was the stop motion dude, and I think, in that scene, there's a couple of shots where it shoots rockets, then we revert to him shutting down and just firing, and that's a full-scale prop.
Well, very cool that you have that full-scale prop here.
Yeah.
So that's it for us at Phil Tippett Studio. That was amazing, Will.
It was absolutely unbelievable. Like, everywhere you look around, it's just magical wonderland. Yeah. Thanks everybody here for helping us set this up and making this happen. And always stay tuned for more stuff from Tested. I'm Will.
I'm Norm.
See you guys later.